the Tuesday, March 11th, 2025, 6 p.m. in the Gun Barrel City Council chambers at 1716 West Main Street, Gun Barrel City, Gun Barrel EDC Economic Development Corporation Board Meeting. I'll have a call to order starting with my left.
Alexander here.
Rankin here.
Bond here.
Damiano here.
Matthews here.
We have a quorum. At this time, I'd like for you to stand for prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for the days that you give us. Be with us, guide us, lead us by your light. In the name of your Son, Jesus Christ, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And if you'll please bear with me, this is the second meeting I've ever chaired. I'd like to recognize our mayor, Mr. Brian Kroll, our city council member, April Burns. Thank y'all for being here in attendance. Do we have any citizens' comments? Okay, onward to new business. We're going to consider and take action to approve the February 14th, 2025 EDC board meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the February 2025 EDC board meeting minutes.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Mr. Bond, can I make one comment?
Yes, you may.
On the agenda that got published, it said January the 14th. You approved the January meeting minutes at your February meeting. So for this item, you are approving the February 11th. That was just a typo. I didn't catch it. Nobody caught it until Stephen caught it today. So
Yeah,
should be the February 11th.
Before
which
the
is
meeting
why you-
went, we did a line through it and initialed it and said it's corrected.
Perfect. You read it into the record right. I just wanted to explain to everybody why the agenda said one thing and you read something different into the record.
Thank you.
Vote.
Okay, now we need a vote from my left.
Alexander, yes.
Rankin, yes.
Bond, yes.
Damiano, yes.
Matthews, yes.
Motion approves. Okay, now we're going to administrate the oath of office and seat our newly appointed board member.
I, Jerry Rademacher, do solemnly swear, pardon me, or affirm that I will faithfully execute the duties of the office of Gun Barrel City Economic Development Corporation of the state of Texas, and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States and this state. So help me God. I, Jerry Rademacher, do solemnly swear or affirm that I have not directly or indirectly paid, offered, promised to pay, contributed, or promised to contribute any money or thing of value, or promised any public office or employment for the giving or withholding of a vote at the election at which I was elected, or as a reward to secure my appointment or confirmation, whichever the case may be. So help me God.
Congratulations. Welcome aboard.
Yes.
It's on. It's on.
John? Okay.
Jerry,
Yes.
welcome to the board. It's nice to have a full board to work with. Why don't you go ahead, if you don't mind, introduce yourself and let the board know a little about you. And since we're being recorded, it also will give the people, the citizens of Gun Barrel, a little bit more to know about you.
Okay, can everybody hear me okay? So, yes, my name's Jerry Rademacher. I'm actually, I've been a resident of Gun Barrel City for the past 17 years. I'm actually a business owner. I am the owner of Foreman Fiber in Maybank. So if you're familiar with the area over by Central Elementary, that area, over by the Trust Company, I'm the owner of all those big black buildings over there. So what our business does is we design and manufacture exterior site furnishings for commercial environments. So architects, landscape architects specify our products. We build them, ship them all over the country and across borders, so. My background's I'm a landscape architect by trade, so, yeah,
Well, welcome.
thank you.
Okay, moving on. We're going to, agenda item number 6, we're going to consider and take action to approve the January 2025 EDC financials.
I'll make a motion to approve the January 2025 EDC financials.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, I have one question. I noticed that Dreamy Dogs did not make a payment in January. Are they up? Yes, sir.
Dreamy Dogs is currently caught up to date on their loan as of March 1st.
Okay, thanks, Angie.
Any more discussion? Without any more discussion, I'll take a vote from my left to approve.
Rademacher, approve.
Alexander, yes.
Rankin, yes.
Bond, yes.
Damiano, yes.
Matthews, yes.
Motion passes. Number 7, we're going to hear from Dr. Smith, an update from the Economic Development Director.
So on your screen is kind of a bulleted list of a few things. I didn't do this for necessarily just the month of February. These are things that Stephen and I have been working on for about the last 30 days. We have conducted a full audit of all loan performance agreements and the documentations for each of the loans that was included in the folders. We have created a master document on our shared drive that Stephen and I both have access to. With reporting requirements. It changes for every loan, but we made sure what were the requirements and what documents have we received. We have also prepared letters that either went in the mail today or will go in the mail the next couple of days to each of our current performance agreement holders with the EDC to update any reporting that has been due that has not been submitted. The due date of that, Stephen is emailing it to them and mailing them a hard copy. They will have reports due on April 1st, and then they will always be due on January 1st going forward. So we'll get them updated, and then we'll get them on track to get those submitted in a timely manner. We've had discussions with the retail coach on recruitment for Gun Barrel City. They provide a quarterly report to you, but I talk to them almost every week. So we've been working with them on some upcoming things, meeting with some potential new businesses and workforce housing developments. The unique part of me holding both roles is that we get to get them early in the development process to talk about EDC business as well. So we've been meeting with a few new businesses and workforce housing developments through the planning phase and some things that are coming. We are working with the Texas Ranger Yearbook to actually advertise the Gun Barrel City EDC this year in the Texas Rangers Yearbook. That comes out at the start of the season and is handed out at games and is available. A lot of local EDCs use this as advertising. I was able to get an incredible deal on this, extremely incredible deal on this, through some relationships we had. And so we're going to have a half-page ad in that yearbook that is available at every single Texas Ranger game and also goes to all their season ticket holders. So it is an ad for the EDC, specifically the Gun Barrel City EDC, and Stephen has been working with them to advertise that, and once we have that all, we'll make sure you all get to see that and have a copy of it. So we ended up with a $24,000 ad for $2,500. So
Nice.
my negotiation is really not that good. I think he felt bad for me. So he was a really nice guy. I negotiate pretty well, but that we were able to waive some of the tickets and some of the other things in order to really get the bang for our buck, which is people seeing Gun Barrel City EDC and potential business owners seeing Gun Barrel City EDC and wanting to come here and open businesses. So I'm super excited about that. The Loan and Grant Subcommittee had their first meeting. We then met with the applicant. They will have an update for you in the subcommittee updates. But we had a great meeting, and they had some great conversations, and so they'll update you on that. And then in February, our auditor, as you know, audits both the City of Gun Barrel and the Gun Barrel City EDC, and they spent 2 days on site where our treasurer and at the city and our admin over at the EDC spend time gathering reports and working with our CPA. And so they're in the process of doing that, and we should have that for the EDC. Hopefully in April is the date we're shooting for the April meeting. So that's what's been going on.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. Next on the agenda is item number 8, discuss EDC strategic priorities and committee appointments and goals.
So as we were getting ready to prepare the agenda for the last meeting, the meeting in February, I meet before the meeting with our president and our vice president to go through the agenda and have some conversations. And one of the things that came up at that meeting was, hey, we don't know if the committees are working. We want to have some workforce development groups where we bring businesses in and do roundtables. And I refreshed the memory of our vice president and our president that we really kind of set some goals. We brought in Super Dave to work with this team within the confines of the strategic plan to really set some goals and form some subcommittees and have those subcommittees go out and do some things. And we've had, some bumps in the road along the way. So just a refresher for everybody is we did the 2024, this was done June, July, August of 2024, the strategic plan update with the board agreeing to focus on business retention and expansion, small business support, establishing maybe some additional festivals and events, and then workforce development kind of being the end goal of if we knew what the businesses needed, we can then do some workforce development. We got to know what they need first, because I think we are making, I go to every chamber meeting and I talk to a lot of them, and we're making some assumptions about what they need when they may need something else. And then the longer 3-year term plan to be increasing light industrial, retail strategies, increasing social media through our property, through Golden Shovel, which Stephen has really, really worked on over the last 18 months to really enhance our relationship with Golden Shovel. Increasing broadband, which kind of fell into our lap with a lot of grants, both Brightspeed upgrading all of their fiber, and NextLink now coming in. I believe that is we don't have a lot of control over the telecommunications side from the city. That's all the state government, but I believe that is who is installing underground fiber up and down Main. It will literally go to every house. So NextLink is in town doing that now. Formalizing the regional mayor entity, that's the Cedar Creek Lake Area Mayors Coalition. It's a lot of words. I'm having a hard time getting out. Brian's not helping. And so they really now have been meeting for a full year. Every other month, every mayor from around the lake getting together and sharing concerns and finding bigger solutions to bigger problems. And so that's been a huge success. And then Pier 334, and I believe we will have the Pier 334 permit applications by April 15th. So we've met with them in the last week. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. We've met with them in the last week, and we're really doing that. At that time, the board agreed that our top objectives for the next 18 months and the 3 things we would focus on the most is forming small business committees to do business retention and expansion for large businesses. In Gun Barrel, that really looks like businesses over 10 employees, right? We don't have a lot of industrial business, so a lot of our retail have less than 10 or more than 10, and that's kind of where the cutoff was. Business retention and expansion for small businesses, establishing festivals and events, and then workforce development being a result of us going out and meeting with those businesses and understanding what their needs are. So our plan to implement that was the business retention and expansion. You guys have all seen this information. It was also presented to council and approved. The large business members have turned over a little bit. Right now, it is just Linda Rankin. Really go out every week and visit businesses. So we did some kickoff meetings. It would be to meet, and this was kind of the large and small had the same goal. Meet with owners or managers of local businesses and say, hey, what can we do to help you, right? This is who I am. We had business cards printed up. We're from the EDC. How can we help you grow or bring in new business, mainly grow and stay in Gun Barrel City? We were partnering with the retail coach to kind of do the new business element. This came right off of the sheet that we talked about at our kickoff meetings. Remember, the goal is to listen to them. I need money. Well, what do you need money for? And how can, there are a lot of resources that we have access to, the Small Business Development Center, SBC loans. There's a lot of things that we have access to that we might be able to help these folks with. So some examples were finding land or buildings. We have a great resource on our website now that this board approved, where the listings are constantly updated of available buildings and land, searching financing for new equipment, finding or training workers. If that's a concern, we have an amazing connection to the Workforce Development Center at TVCC. I actually teach for them. We have an amazing connection to them to get them here to help us lead some of those classes. Helping with permitting or license or infrastructure. We have a direct connection now to the city where we can, if permitting is holding up, I can help that process, right? And then technical assistance for exporting, market development, whatever it was. And then the goal was to have those meetings and then report those to the admin so he could track them. We actually have a tracker set up. We kicked off the meeting as much as we could. We didn't have many lists of businesses, so I got the CO list from the city and just kind of handed them to both the small and large committee and said, hey, here, tell us how we can help. Stephen doesn't really have the capacity to sit down and call every business and say, how many employees do you have? But we made the conference room available and the phone available for you guys to do that when you could. And then small business was much the same. This one committees have come and gone. Roy Key, Sue Alexander are the current members. Again, the same thing. Try to visit just 2 businesses a week. Even if Sue went to one and Roy went to one, just try to hit 2 every week so that we start to build relationships. The biggest thing an EDC can do is build a relationship with the current businesses in town, so then you're their first call. Or, hey, they know, hey, let me call this EDC and see if they can help me do X, whatever X is. And this all kind of came in tandem with us rewriting our loan and our small business incentive program and our large business incentive program. But again, we kind of kicked this off, and I would argue we have stalled a little bit. And I shared this with Roy and Keith when they asked me to put this on the agenda, that maybe we need to kind of come back to center and really look at, have we given this a shot before we just try to take on something new? And then festivals and events, that is currently Gary and Lisa. They were going to meet once a month, really start to, on the sheet, one of the things we were going to do was develop a list of facilities where we could have events. There are a lot of them right now. CR Legacy, there's a lot of different places that have meeting space where we might be able to have meetings. Develop new festivals and event ideas. Committee begin the planning of potentially at least one new event annually that would put heads in beds, right, and bring those sales tax dollars back to the city. And then work to attend current events. And I know Stephen's real good about going, and we've had several board members come and hand out information. Linda came when we worked with the kids, but people have come and gone to that stuff to really get out the idea of what is the EDC. And then, any funding requests for hotel motel would have to go to council. But that was kind of the plan that we rolled out as a board. And then with workforce development being kind of the end result, right? How do we, in a world where we have a lot of retail, help these folks be successful? Because that is their biggest challenge, is getting people and keeping people. Getting people that show up for work, getting them somewhat trained in customer service of some kind, and then keeping them while they're here. And that's what we're hearing at the chamber level from businesses are, how do we get people? How do we keep them? How do we, in a time that we're struggling and prices are going through the roof and supplies are going through the roof, still stay competitive, right? And so all of that comes into play. And a little bit of progress. I mean, all I can do is update you, and I told Roy and Keith both that I would be doing this. August 24, during August of 2024, we had a kickoff meeting. I met with the Small Business Development Group, and some of you have come in and out and maybe not even a part of this meeting since that time, but I held kickoff meetings with each of the three groups. With the committees, we provided the certificate of occupancy list from the city. I was able to get that. We were kind of led through, we kind of walked through expectations and what will each of these groups do. And then really meet monthly, which Stephen set up monthly meetings for every group, and said, hey, here we are. Here's when we will reserve the conference room during this time, whatever. He worked with the group to do that. For the small and large business retention, recommendations started with, hey, start with the businesses that have loans with us, right? Just go touch base with them. Get in front of them, get your face in front of them. And this was all on the heels of our EDC board members wanting to do more, right? Knowing that my time is split and Stephen was buried just trying to keep loans and grants up to date. The board wanted to do more. How do we get more engaged? And this was really kind of what we worked through with that consultant to be able to do that. We're just asked to, go out and introduce yourself and say, hey, I'm a face. How can I help? How can the EDC help? Of course, they're all going to say, we want money, right? Everybody's going to say, I'm going to tell you that. You ask me how you can help, I'm going to say, give me some money. And that's what every business is going to do. But then we get to the beef of what do we really need out of this? And so really about building relationships with these businesses so they know we're here and they know when they do get ready to expand, or they have a friend that owns a Jimmy John's or their buddy owns, Jersey Mike's, hey, how do we get these businesses here? Because those business connections all run together. Since August, and one of the things that we ask every group to do was send us a list. As you visit businesses, just send it to Stephen and Stephen can track it. That kept our small business and our large business from going to the same businesses. Since August, we have had less than a dozen visits to businesses that we have reported. Now, maybe there have been more than that. And, while there's a standing meeting once a month, those people we're not really doing those meetings. And so I would challenge all of this to say I would challenge, before we take on something new, we really need to know whether or not this works and have we given it 100% to see that. Every group has had a few challenges. Our job really isn't, you've heard me say this in other meetings, our job really isn't to take someone else's event and provide them funding. That the city has hotel motel tax, that's a great place to do that, or to do all the marketing for some of these folks. We can't take that on, but we have grants. We have a small business plan now that does provide funding if they want to hire a professional marketer to come in and help them be more successful. And so we've got some things to do there. And Roy and Keith came to me and said, hey, we want to have a workshop. And I said, hey, why don't we just do this at a meeting? But in fairness, I want to update the whole board on where we are first. And I think that's only fair that the entire board kind of know, hey, here's where we are, and we maybe haven't moved the needle as much as we thought we would, and that's okay. Maybe that's all right. I just want everybody to be on the same page and kind of know where every group is. Unfortunately for Linda, she's been a one-man show for a while. When we lost one of our members, Linda then never got a second board member. So it's kind of been Linda and I have been going back and forth on trying to get her some information so she can go out and do it, but not step on toes at the same time. So tonight really is open to the board to discuss how do we get this program back on track, right? We were all gung-ho when Super Dave left because he's such a big personality. This isn't about Angie. This was really about what can the board do and how can the board help. Maybe we need to appoint some committee members, and we can talk about that tonight, and we could even do that at the next meeting. They could start participating, and we could formally appoint them at the next meeting. I kind of put on here who the committee members currently are. Small business, BRE is business retention and expansion. It's just way too much to type out on these slides. So the small business currently is Roy Key and Sue Alexander. Large business is currently Linda. She's a one-man show. And she has been communicating with me recently, trying to really get this going now that she has all of her bearings as a treasurer, which is almost a part-time job in itself. With my typos. And then events and festivals is Damiano and Matthews. I guess my question to you all is, are we ready to recommit to this? And I know some board members have had some frustrations because they've come in, they got appointed to a board, they're ready to go, and then the board doesn't meet when they're scheduled to meet, right? So my question is as a board, is this board ready to recommit to these? And how do we do that? And what can staff do to help? There's only so much time in a day for this one who's chasing dollars every day, right? Spends 90% of his time trying to get our loan payments on time and track those loans. And we'll have some help now that we're going to turn some of these loans over that are in default. But, how can we help do that? And how do we need to reappoint people? So, and Keith, I'll kick it back to y'all and let y'all have this discussion. I'm here for advice, but I do think we do need to reassess because we're not making progress. And as a whole, this work and effort that y'all really put in and the excitement that you had has come to a standstill, so.
I have a question, please.
Yes.
You were mentioning that you have put something into a database about our loan entities. In that database, do you have the number of employees they were to have had after they began?
It is not necessarily called out, and part of the challenge is, like, we have one loan holder right now that was required to hire 4, but he only had one compliance report due. He did it. He had 4 when he did that report. Now he's back down to 1. So that's kind of the challenge, is some of those performance agreements are written in a way where they were required to do it and they did it, but it doesn't necessarily say for the life of the loan. So that is part of the challenge that we have. But we have all of the performance agreements in one place. So if I have a question about it, I know exactly where they are and I know exactly how to get to them. They're all scanned onto our shared drive. And we can then easily reference that information.
Is it possible for you to get, or do you have a list of the owners, managers of some of these businesses?
What Stephen has is a list of the COs, and I'm not sure if it has the name. It may have the name of the owner when they applied for their certificate of occupancy. Sorry, CO, certificate of occupancy. But Stephen does have a list of business address. Now, if the business is closed, they don't always notify us. Typically, if the business changes names, they have to come get a new CO, so we can replace that information. But our permit tech was able to provide me a list of every single registered business in Gun Barrel that has a certificate of occupancy with their basic information. It doesn't say number of employees. It's not going to have their tax ID number, but it does have their location, their name, and their address. And in some cases, I think she has a phone number as well.
I just have one last comment, and then I'll not bother you anymore. But if you have a way of looking at our tax roll.
I do not. As the EDC director, I do not have a
Okay.
way to look at your tax rolls.
I understand as the EDC director. As city manager.
City manager isn't the same position, so.
Well, let me ask the question anyway. I would like to know what large businesses are faltering. Maybe if I could call on those that are faltering, I could help with that.
I cannot share, as the city manager, any sales tax related information. And as the EDC director, as I stand here right now, I do not have access to that information.
I understand.
I basically don't look at it because then my hat doesn't get conflicted. Mickey, our treasurer, manages that, and that keeps me out of hot water with the government, so.
Understood. Thank you.
So let me ask a question. I don't know if I'm confused or not, but so the city is not able to give us the names of businesses?
You have the names of businesses, you have
Have we
even,
integrated
and,
that
and it
with
was given to the small business committee and the large, whoever was on that at the time in August when we kicked this off. We provided a spreadsheet with basically every CO certificate, every business who had gotten a certificate of occupancy in Gun Barrel, the very basic information, which is business name, probably business owner, and address.
Okay, no, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And the other thing you said, which is very true, it's not hard to determine a small business from a large business in this town. I mean, most everybody know who the large businesses are and the small businesses are, okay? I will reiterate, one of the things that I was in favor of having a business roundtable, inviting businesses in. I think we could do it faster by getting more businesses in place. They could talk to each other. They could talk to us. I think we might learn some things a whole lot faster, but we can cross that bridge later. Okay, thank you.
I think one of the challenges that we would have today, Gary, is I could set that meeting up, and how do I find a convenient time for them? Like, that's kind of the benefit of going out and meeting with these people and saying, hey, what do you need? And then we know who needs what, and now we can find a time that works for everybody. Because in the retail world, some evenings don't work, right? They're open till 9 o'clock. Saturdays might not work. That's their busiest time. So I think that was kind of the purpose of the small business, is really to know what do you need. We had the Small Business Development Center out of TVCC, Miranda Perry, has come here and done workshops. She's done entrepreneurial workshops. But it's hard to get folks here because it's hard to know really what do you need and what, they're not going to just show up to sit around and chat, right? They just won't do it. I can tell you from experience, we have a hard enough time chasing some of these folks down on the city side for stuff, but that was really kind of the point, was to get that and then have those, hey, what do you need, right? Let's have a business roundtable with every business that needs this thing, so we know what that thing is. Workforce development, marketing. I'm happy. We have a lot of resources, right? They asked Brooke. Brooke will, at the next meeting, teach about social media, because she's really darn good at it, and she loves it. So she's going to, at the next chamber meeting, speak about how to integrate social media into your business. We have that resource right at our fingertips, but I got to know what people need before we can try to deliver that.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we're running up against is that the EDC has been quiet for the past year while we get reorganized, get our house in order. I get that. And a lot of other businesses know that we've been quiet for a year. And so getting back out in touch with everybody is going to be a challenge, to be honest with you. But it's a good idea. I mean, the way we got it set up, it's a good move.
Maybe. I don't know. It's some businesses are going to be hard to connect with, but saying we've been quiet for a year, we were quiet from October to August when we kicked this plan off, and hey, we were gung-ho and we were going to do it. Now it's March, so yes, we've been quieter longer than maybe we should have. But I think just, heck, you could meet in here for an hour whenever and make a few phone calls and say, hey, we want to come visit with you. When is a good time? We don't want anything from you. We're not trying to sell you anything. We just want 15 minutes with someone, a manager, an owner. And I think, we do have a lot of franchises, but I think that manager still has needs that we might be able to help with that don't go all the way up to the Golden Chick franchise, right? That are
No,
local.
the manager's on the front line. They know.
Yeah, that
probably
poor
better
guy
than the
over
owner
here,
what
he
they
works
need.
every morning at breakfast and serves me my French toast sticks. So
One last
wait,
thing.
because that's all I eat.
Is it possible when we do a performance agreement to start plugging dates due on different reports on a calendar so that we know it's going to happen and we start looking for it?
We are working on that from an admin side, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to speak as a prior small business retention committee member. I went out with Sue Alexander and I went out with Roy a couple of times, and I'm not saying the program's not a valid program, that it's not a workable program. I just think that for me, what we're addressing needed to be much more well defined, whether that's the committee sitting down and saying, this is our template. We're going to go down this template, because the first place we went, we thought was a very small business, American Auto Parts, or Eagle Auto Parts. We go in there, we wait for about 5 minutes while he's with a customer, knowing we were coming. The answer we got, correct me if I'm wrong, Sue,
Fort Smith, Arkansas.
Yeah, you need to talk to Fort Smith, Arkansas. We're a franchise. Okay, we could not help him. We went across the street to the little thrift store. Well, the manager wasn't there. We left the number to contact us. I don't believe we ever heard anything back. So I like the idea of starting with who we have loans with. Go to them and find out what we've done for them that's helped them.
And that was, again, that was our kickoff meeting was, hey, guys, come up with a plan, come up with an approach. Are you going to go one-on-one? Are you going to go in small groups? Are you going to meet them here? Are you going to call them? Are you going to go have lunch with them? And, so I think somewhere along the way, we really lost that focus. And my goal is just, and I had this conversation with Roy and Keith when we started talking about this agenda, is we paid a lot of money to come up with a plan. And everybody was gung-ho when we walked out of that room, and then things fizzle. And how do we get this back on track? And again, I'm happy to go to one visit with you. My personality is very different. And I said this in all the meetings. I'm very outgoing. I talk to a telephone pole, right? So it's going to be hard to go with me and watch me do what I do, and then you mimic that unless you share my personality, because I can talk to anybody about anything. You guys have seen me do that. So what I wanted you guys to be able to do is really map your approach. What is our approach? How are we going to do this? What questions are we going to ask? So I think somehow we just kind of lost focus, and the goal of this is to get us back on track one way or the other.
Well, the last week on my own, not as a committee member, but as a member of the EDC, I talked to a small business owner who's done a matching grant with us before and wants to do another one. Well, he was explaining to me that he found it difficult with the new way to do it because he owns several strip malls. And some of the requirements, he said, so, I told him, I said, I hear what you're saying, call Stephen. Talk to Stephen, call Angie.
Yep.
I said, but maybe that's something we look at when we go to these large and smalls, is go to ones that we've done business with before. How did what we do help you? What could we have done better?
Yeah.
I mean, I told you I'd lost confidence in it. I'm not going to
It's okay.
deny. I still think it's viable, but I think we might need to regroup and revisit how we're going out and how we're approaching.
Let me just say this. I used to own a business in this city. It was a small business because there was only one employee. And it would have been great for me to know that the EDC had resources available to me to, run my business. And I've just sitting here today listening to all of this. I think what I'm going to try to approach these people with is with a business card, letting them know that we're here, we have resources available. Here's Stephen's card, because he's the one with all the information and the, knowledge. And
It's the giant brain under the glass
giant
bubble.
brain, and just let them know that there's resources available. If they need anything, call him and he can lead them through the process.
Are we going to have a new brochure, a marketing brochure of what we do offer?
I can do one if the board wants one.
It would be more professional for us to hand them that.
Yeah, what we did is get business cards because I think the original agreement was it was going to be less formal, more conversational, kind of what are you looking for, instead of just walk in with, here, we offer money, right? Because not everybody needs that. It's okay if they do. We have some plans in place for them to try to get that, but we don't have a lot of money, right? So that is the other side of the challenge, is if you really are having workforce problems, let us find ways to help workforce. If you're really having signage problems, well, then that's one thing. You'll hear an update today from the Loan and Grant Committee, and we took a journey. It was our first one, and I think Linda, Lisa, and Roy would tell you we went down a journey, right? Because that is hard when somebody presents you a grant application and they need the world, and you have to figure out how to make that work. And so you're going to hear an update from them and where we're at. But we really had to take a journey and get that first one out there and sit down and meet with them and then work through how do we make that better every single time we do it.
Would it be helpful if we stood electronically or from a social media standpoint, excuse me, put the word out there to businesses, hey, the EDC is going out and meeting with businesses and to get a better handle on what's going on in the city, what your needs are, how we can help? If we could promote that a little bit, I think it would start driving
Potentially.
a two-way street.
Potentially, I would also, the EDC has a chamber membership. Come to chamber events. We meet here now on Thursday, the third Thursday morning. It's real easy, right? We're right here. And start talking to those business. That is your frontline businesses right there. Those are Gun Barrel City businesses, around the lake businesses, but they have relationships that they can then connect you to. That is an easy way to start. Hey, I want to spend 5 minutes with you, because I think what you're going to see is some of our businesses look small, but they have a really big operation behind the scenes. Ty, Creative Relic, is one of those. Ty is in that suite a one-man show, but Ty is not a one-man show. Ty has a lot of people that help him do what he does, and he has people all over, right? And so while there's one person that sits at an office and spits out embroidery and signage and that kind of stuff, he has a ship direct program. He has mainframe computers down in Dallas. So there's a lot to that. And those are the kind of things you're going to learn when you interact with those businesses of, hey, we have these. And it just is one step further of making them feel welcome here. And that's really the mission of the EDC, right? Is to make those connections and be there to support those businesses.
I agree that the chamber, the Gun Barrel City Chamber meetings is a good place to announce this, but it doesn't have all the businesses. All the business owners are not there.
They're not, but they do go to the chamber luncheons.
But again, well, like I say, would it make sense for the EDC to put out some announcements via social media saying, hey, here's what we're doing, we'd love to talk to you?
We can. I don't know how good of a function social media is for businesses, to be honest. That's a good question for some of the businesses you go see is, do you follow social media? Are you watching the EDC social media? Website, we could do some things out on our website that tends to be visited by people coming. It's an idea. It's something that's potential. I don't know how many business followers we have in the area on our Facebook page.
Well, if we're not doing it, how many are we reaching now?
I do not know.
That's my question. You know, I don't have the answer to what you're asking.
Yeah,
It's a valid question,
yeah.
but if we do it, we got to reach more businesses than we're reaching now, I would think, or the same amount at worst case.
And again, how do I get the board members in front of them, right? So, you know, we do a lot. Stephen does a lot with our website, more than we've ever done with our website. Writing articles. We're about to publish an article over Tip Top, who happens to be a loan holder from us, that we're going to publish an article about. We did it with a local ophthalmologist. Gun Barrel Eye, either optometrist or ophthalmologist. I was struggling, so I was trying to figure out the word. That's the ADHD going on. But we did an article about them to start driving people to their business. The dentist that we sold the property to, right? Those are all folks that have businesses here that we're working with on the admin side to get that information out. But how can we get help from you guys?
And I see on Facebook where Stephen puts the agenda and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Well, for me, I am very motivated. So I think you did
Yeah,
what
this
you
has
needed
helped.
to do.
It's helped me too. Thank you.
I do have one question in regards to the festival committee. Is there like a main park and the park facilities calendar so that we know if there's something that's already scheduled? Because Mr. Damiano's done a really nice job, like 21 different ideas for festivals and, you know, competitions, tournaments. But, you know, some of them would obviously need to be in the park.
Yeah.
Is there a main park and facilities calendar that we can have access to? Because we can't even begin to start planning anything if we don't, you know, we need the big, whatever you call that,
I don't know that there is a master calendar. I mean, you can go to our website and find most of our events. Brooke is our community engagement and social media coordinator. She's our community engagement coordinator is her title now. On the city side, on our city website, there is a calendar, and she has booked out through the beginning of the fall. But if there is a specific date you're looking for, then Lauren up in permitting can help, or you can shoot me an email and say, hey, is this date? And she keeps a calendar of kind of rentals that go on, and most of our big groups book a year in advance, right? So I kind of know what dates are available, and
It was Brooke that I would call for that.
or you can just shoot me an email, and I'm happy to say, hey, what dates are available in October, for example, and I can look at that. It would be difficult for me to give you, it changes every day because we get permits. Today we booked a circus, right? So we get things on nonstop, but I can tell you today what is available. And then if you want to pick a date, like I want to do November the 15th, and then you're going to plan an event around that, I can help you do that too.
Okay.
Through the permitting process and just get you guys on the calendar.
Because a festival, you can't, any festival or music or anything, you can't pull that together in a
Can't.
month.
No, the first thing you got to have is your date. And,
Right.
if you're looking at next November, right?
Right.
Just shoot
Okay.
me out a date, shoot me out a couple dates and say, hey, are any of these available? And we can quickly fill out a permit, and, the city's going to waive your fee to do that, and we can,
Master calendar would be very helpful.
yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying.
No, we have one. We just, and they keep the website up to date.
Okay, the
Will
website.
not have every rental I have because some of that information is not really available for the public. And we don't list every event. We list the events that we hold or we sponsor. If we tried to start listing every event, every single person held, that's all Brooke would do all day long, and she doesn't really have time to do that. So we have a permit process at the city where they fill out a permit to request a date, like at the pavilion. But I currently have 0 rentals at the amphitheater unless it is a city event. And I can tell you if there's a specific date, I can tell you those instantly.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Any other,
Well, I guess I'm going to jump in because I've
Go
been
for it.
sitting here listening and just, just some opinions, because I do think it is a rather large assignment to get out there and try and talk to people when you're working off a list of COs. I also look at it from the standpoint of understanding that there's a lot of franchises. You may not always get the owner, it's going to be the manager, whatnot, but simply, in my opinion, people really don't like to take a lot of time to meet in person anymore. I mean, that's really hard to get the attention of somebody. And then once you've got it, do you have some sort of a template, like you mentioned? Do you have kind of that starter for that 15-minute conversation of questions? What do you need? That sort of thing. I think that's just a big assignment. I really do think that the social media is a good aspect to look at. I've been watching social media for the last couple of years. Now, granted, I'm a large business in Maybank. I have 26 employees. But really, if you follow some of these sites, I just think like what the city has been doing with some of their postings, their announcements, updates, that sort of thing. If you look at some of these posts, you've got over 300 views. You've got people talking and commenting over 300 times on a post. And that's tremendous. I think people like to be informed. So I don't think there's any harm in going to social media and saying, this is the EDC. These are our goals for this year. This is what we want to do. That keeps people informed, and it makes them feel like you're representing us and you're trying to do something. Secondly, I think you should jump into some of the chamber meetings, because those, even though that's not representing everybody, you get a fraction of people. And it's very consistent in its attendance. Now, I'm not part of that chamber membership, but I've been one of those people that I've watched their postings. I watch what they talk about, that sort of thing. And so I think it has to be kind of a combination of efforts, because you're reaching out to different types of people. A lot of these small businesses actually get into Life Around Cedar Creek Lake, things like that, those types, and they're posting stuff where it's for their businesses. Now, they're small, they may only be themselves or a few employees, but I think that's become, maybe unfortunately in some aspects, but it's super important to how they operate and how they communicate anymore. I've kind of made the comment before, just like even in my interview, that people don't come to to meetings anymore. They don't want to show up. You could send out an invitation, they're not going to show up. And I'm guilty of that. Everybody's too busy, but you can be in bed looking at your phone at 11 o'clock at night and you're going to be informed. I mean, that's just how, unfortunately, how it's changed. So I for one, I guess, I think it's a big assignment to get out there and try and visit all these. That's a huge undertaking, just in my opinion. Just because I feel like if you don't have a really good roster or database to start from, my gosh, that's a lot of ground to cover, and it's almost, you almost feel like you become a census worker. So why not start by backing it off a little bit and go with some of the social media posts that the city has been really successful in doing? I think it's been super informative. And then partner that with, starting with the chamber. A lot of those people, a lot of those business owners have other friends and business owners that don't attend those meetings that they talk to. So maybe that's a way to start and start feeling it out. I think it's also a good idea to look at the past roster of people that have done the grant programs and that sort of thing, what's worked, what hasn't. A lot of times, if they have multiple locations and they're working within other communities, they're gonna tell you, well, you guys don't do this, you don't do that. And I have a business, I have a shop in Athens and they're doing this and whatever. That's great feedback. So again, the way I'm looking at it, just as a total outsider, is I don't know that the solution is getting out and beating the streets right away, because we don't have the database in place or really the connections, all the information. We don't know how many employees are in what storefront and where. Why not start with something that's manageable and something that I think we've seen kind of work in different aspects? So.
I think the whole point is, like, it's not jumping out there with both feet. I mean, I'm supposed to visit 1 or 2 a week, and that's just opening the door. These folks may not be in the chamber,
Right.
but going to the chamber meetings and their events is always, it's good networking.
Right.
But the scaling back, I think we're scaled back just about as far as we can. So just moving forward with the 1 or 2 visits a week on top of all the
Yeah,
other
I think
stuff.
if you
The
could-
social media is a great thing because, like I said, I read Stephen's posts all the time.
Yeah, they're great.
But, all of it put together is awesome, really good ideas moving forward.
So Angie, I only did that because
This is where I get all my exercises on one Tuesday night a month.
here's my question. Do we take it back to each committee and have them at their next monthly meeting sit down and try to define, bring together? Because I was just sitting here thinking, what better way to get out and meet local businesses than to basically go to the local businesses you shop?
Great place to start.
That's exactly how I ended up talking to the person I did. I went, I had a need, I talked to them. Come to find out they're one of our recent matching grant recipients, and they want to do another one. We shop, I try to shop local every chance I get, and to me, if we start that, instead of starting at the top, or start with businesses that we know, and then go from there. I mean,
Yeah, where you're having dinner, right? I mean, we eat out a lot because I
Right.
don't like to cook. So, we're having those conversations. Hey, I need a new sign. What is the process, right? They obviously know who I am and what I do. And so
Right.
we start talking through that. And then you ease in, hey, we have grants for that. And hey, here's the paperwork, here's how you get that. And here's who you call. And that is the easiest way to start, is just having a conversation with the businesses while you're there.
and maybe instead of trying to pinpoint it to a number, an aggregate number per
Sure.
week, or have the committee set a goal for this month. Again, basically what I'm wondering, can we send this back to the committees and let them revisit, reevaluate,
Yeah.
and come up with a plan? And it may actually be to get with Stephen and say, hey, let's showcase this business like they're doing Tip Top.
Yeah, we've done, each month, Golden Shovel helps us do social media posts and write articles. And so if you go to our Facebook page, you'll see those pop up, right? And we have some, the most recent one, it's not up yet, but Tip Top is the most recent one. But they have a professional article writer. So every month we meet, they give Stephen all the analytics, and then they're like, hey, what do we want to showcase this month? So we've kind of gone back to how do we showcase those people that we know we need to drive their business, so.
And because I don't think it's a program that we should just abandon.
Yeah.
I still think it's viable. I think it just, like anything new, it's a work in progress.
Hard.
We need to massage it and make it ours, because we're not a large community, but we are a very tight community. So that would be my recommendation.
It's a great place to start. We do have a couple of vacancies. Linda is,
Okay, oops.
go ahead.
Well, I was going to move on to the part about committee appointees and goals.
Yep. So we have 7 members. We have 7 members of the EDC. Roy wasn't feeling well, so he's not here tonight. But we have originally we had the small business retention, we had large business retention, and events and festivals. And one had 3. Small business had 3, large business had 2, and events and festivals had 2. Those are kind of your current appointees. If you guys want to, I know Keith is a free agent and Jerry's a free agent. So if you guys want to say, hey, these might be a committee I'm interested in, and at the next meeting, we can make those formal appointments. But at a minimum, Stephen can, in the next 30 days, set up a new kickoff meeting to really get this headed in the right direction. And different stuff is going to work for each committee, but that's what we're really looking for you guys to is, I don't want to just put out, oh, we have a small business incentive, right? We have very limited dollars, and we got to think about our approach to that. Or we have a large business, but what else does the EDC do, and what's that messaging, through the strategic plan on how else can we help? We can help with marketing. We can connect you with marketing resources. We can connect you with the Small Business Development Center. Some businesses just need a business plan. I love them, their heart's in it, but they really don't have an indirection. Well, we have resources that do that for you for free. So how do we get that to those people that money's there, but there's also things they need that doesn't have money, so.
Well, I'm willing to throw my hat back in if they'll accept me on the small business program or committee.
Sure. We'll let you back in, Keith.
Sue, are you sure you're ready for that? Sue is ready.
Jerry?
I'd be more than happy to help Linda on the large business.
Okay, so you
Okay,
have
so
myself.
we'll make those formal appointments, but in the meantime,
Yeah,
then we'll start setting up some meetings, so,
and we'll vote on them next month.
and do that. I
Okay.
appreciate it.
All right, so we finished number 8. Now on to the next agenda item. Subcommittee updates.
Stephen's like, Angie, quit clicking.
Okay, Business Retention and Expansion Committee, small business update.
Yeah, we kind of just did that. I mean, I think I did.
Well, Sue did.
I don't really have any kind of update. My update is moving forward. I promise I'll do better.
You're doing great. Okay. Number 10, Business Retention and Expansion, Linda Rankin, the member of the large.
I've been visiting with Angie on this because I was trying to get some information to know where I wanted to start. And we've been going through that a lot. I think after tonight, I know exactly where I'm going to start. It'll be with our current loan holders that have a large business.
Okay, and most likely next month you will have
I will have a report.
you will have a second member.
I will.
can
which
work
will be
with.
nice. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to number 11, events and festivals.
Okay, I have been gone for 2 weeks. We did not have a meeting, but we have talked. We have a list of 21 potential events or types of events that can be held in Gun Barrel, some will be held in Gun Barrel City, some in the city, some will be held at the park, some will encompass the entire lake, depending on what they are. But and that's our starting point, is the 21. We have to sit down now, take a look at them and start prioritizing. The other question that we have to ask ourselves is, do we go out and look for people who want to put these types of events on, or do we work to put them on? It will make a difference as to how we come out of all of this. Yeah, if anybody has any questions, I'm open, but we're moving.
Okay. Thank y'all very much for your hard work. Thank all the board members and committee members for their hard work. Number 12, Loan and Grant Committee update.
Angie, did you want to talk about that, or you want us to?
I can do whichever you prefer. I'm happy to, if you want me to. I know Roy was going to talk about it, so since Roy's not here, or you guys can. Yeah, it really is short and sweet. So the Loan and Grant Committee met with a local business who applied for a small business incentive program. We had our initial meeting. They went out, toured the business, visited the business. They had some concerns. They came up with an offer to the business for the small business plan. I then met with them. The business is very interested, but there are some things that they need to take care of before they're ready for us to help them. And so those are things we don't help with. And so I don't want to name the business because they are out working to decide which direction they want to go, but they're a great local business that gives a lot to the community, and they have some things they need to take care of before they're ready for our funding dollars to help with signage and parking lots and facade, that type of stuff. So they asked for when Stephen and I met with them late last week, they weren't going to be ready for this meeting. They needed to do a little more research before they were ready to commit one way or the other. But we asked them to let us know when they're ready to meet with the group again, and we would set up a meeting. So that format worked really well. We had a kind of a kickoff meeting where the team visited. Then we visited with the business. Then we walked away and did some research and visited the business and did some of that stuff, gathered some information, and then came back together. The committee decided to make an offer. I then delivered that offer. And with a request to just slow down just a minute and let them try to figure out the other issues that they have. So.
Okay. Thank you. All right. That concludes the business other than one item. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
It is 7:08. We are adjourned.
Thank you.